Well, we're continuing our coverage here from Davos at the World Economic Forum's annual meeting. Right behind me is the Indian Adda, the Make in India Lounge. That's where global investors are meeting with government officials. The Commerce Minister Nirmala Sitharaman also in the Indian Adda at this point in time. And joining us here out in the snow is the DIPP Secretary Ramesh Abhishek. So thanks very much for joining us. You've met a bunch of foreign investors over the last few days. Are these existing investors in India? Are these fresh investors? What is the sense that you're getting?
It's a mixed lot. Many of them are existing investors. They are planning to expand their operations, and many of them are new ones who have maybe a sales outlet, but they want to start manufacturing. So as we have seen in the FDI numbers, there is a lot of interest in investing in India.
Okay. Speaking specifically, I just saw you in a meeting with the global chief of IKEA. IKEA, of course, has big plans for India. They're hoping to launch their first store next year in Hyderabad. Are there regulatory issues surrounding retail over and done with? Are they feeling confident, optimistic and positive about India?
Yeah, they are extremely positive, and they are planning to open 25 stores by the year 2025, which for them is really is a big deal. And they can see the amount of traction that they are getting. They are already sourcing a lot of their global requirements from India for last many years, 25 plus years. So for them, it's just a question of opening stores in India.
So what kind of investments are they talking about over the next few years into India?
I think the number that I remember is something like 10,500 crores. And they are now already opening store in Hyderabad, as you said, end of the year. And they already bought properties, they said, in Navi Mumbai. They are now doing more, buying more land. Land has become suddenly cheaper after demonetization, so that helps.
I'm not sure whether that entirely is true, but let me ask you about, since we're talking about IKEA and we're talking about retail, there is the possibility that we could see further tweaking of the FDI rules when it comes to single brand retail. So instead of approval, it could now come through the automatic route. Is that something that you're considering?
Oh, no, right now, there is no specific proposal as such, but we are definitely reforms in FDI is an ongoing process, and we are always trying to see what more can be done, how processes can be simplified. So we will work on that, and so what exactly will be done.
But does it make sense? Because anyway, it's 100% FDI through single brand. Does it make sense to allow them to go through the automatic route as opposed to the approval route?
We believe that the FDI in retail policy needs a lot of improvement because now this is a rather complicated policy. But we'll have to see, make the interests of everybody who are stakeholders compatible, and we will balance out those interests, and then accordingly we will try to do reforms.
On the other issue of food retail, because that again has been something that, in fact, the nodal ministry, the food processing ministry, has been sending your way, that allow people to not just do food retail if there is a commitment to invest in the back end as well. So again, has a decision been taken on that front?
Decision has not been taken, but they have a view that when people want to go to buy food, they also like to buy some home care and personal care products. We think it's a fair view, and that gives the buyers better choices and makes the business more viable. But no decision has been taken yet.
Likely to see one being taken anytime soon?
No, I don't know. That, of course, only the government can decide. But
you are the government, sir.
No. All this decided by the cabinet, as you know.
Okay.
But these are some of the ideas, and we are always working on reforms.
Okay. You talked about some investors looking at the possibility of manufacturing in India. Any sectors in specific where you're seeing significant interest?
No, for example, telecom infrastructure is the kind of growth that telecom is seeing. Recently, we have seen a lot of FDI coming in to buy spectrum also in auction recently, and infrastructure also there's a lot of interest, and BharatNet and other programs are also doing very well. So that is another one sector. Electronics manufacturing, of course, continues to be very, very important, and there's a lot of interest in infrastructure, retail, like IKEA, furniture. So there's a lot of interest in many of these sectors which are showing good growth.
In terms of the ease of doing business, and I know that you've been working very hard to try and improve things. When you talk specifically to CEOs, for instance, a conversation that I was having with someone who's in the pharma sector, they continue to say that the number of approvals required, the time taken for approvals, licensing and so on and so forth continues to be extremely cumbersome and time consuming, and hence India is lagging behind other global players. can we expect radical action in 2017, at least for some specific sectors that the government identifies as growth sectors?
Specifically on drugs, the approvals that are given under the Drug and Cosmetics Order by the Ministry of Health, Drug Controller, the time taken by them has been cut down very significantly. There has been a lot of reform in the processes that they had. But of course, it's an ongoing process. On pharmaceutical pricing also, the authority has now adopted a process which is fair, which is transparent. They are giving a hearing to stakeholders and they're taking a view. Our point is that you have a time-bound process in which you hear out the stakeholders, then take a decision. So many of these reforms in the processes are being done, some have been done, and when we get more and more feedback, we keep working with the ministries concerned.
So in 2017, what should we expect from the DIPP? What more can we see? And what should investors look forward to?
We are seeing more than 30% growth in FDI even in this year. And if you remember, we had the highest ever FDI coming into India, $55.6 billion last year. So the interest is enormous. I think we just have to keep working on improving ease of doing business, reforms in the policies, better infrastructure. And I think this demonetization has also helped because many of them have a very positive view that this is going to help in the digital transactions, organized sector, better tax base. So it helps those who are tax compliant.
Okay. Let me end by asking you, sir, the budget is around the corner. What is your expectation and what is it that the DIPP would like to see the government do by way of the budget?
See, one thing we are doing now from the next week itself, that organizing meetings between our industries and specific sectors which are labor intensive, which need more working capital and capital with the banks. So we feel that after this demonetization, the funds requirements, the capital requirements of the industry, small industry in particular labor-intensive ones, we need more support from the banks. And banks are very keen to do that. So we are organizing those meetings. And in the budget, of course, everyone is hoping and expecting that there will be many, some reforms will be there and there will be many announcements, higher spending on infrastructure. So I think those things are being done already. So I think those should be the thrust areas.
Mr. Abhishek, always a pleasure speaking with you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us here in Davos. That's the DIPP secretary saying that foreign investors continue to be enthused about the India story. And you expect the run rate of FDI that we clocked in the previous year to continue this year?
Definitely, if not better.